Hello, I'm Dr. Hewett from Raleigh Pediatrics. We would like to thank all of you who voted for the Facebook parenting tip voting this past week. We had an enormous response. It was almost a tie between picky eating as well as sleep problems, and then temper tantrums was pretty close as well. The picky eating won out. It got the most votes, so we will definitely be doing the other two videos at some point in the future. But today we're going to talk about picky eating because it was so popular amongst all of our Facebook followers. Picky eating is something that is very common in childhood, and it's one of the most common complaints that parents have, especially during our checkup appointments here in the office. When a child is in the first year of life, typically between birth and 12 months of age, the child is growing very quickly, and the big part of that growth is brain development. And so we don't typically see kids get very picky in the first year of life. The pickiness really starts during the second year, between 12 months and 24 months of age, when we see the growth velocity of the child start to slow down significantly, and the brain it does the majority of its growth by 2 years of age. So when the brain starts to slow down its growth, you'll start to see the appetite slow down some. And that's really the biggest problem when it comes to pickiness. Typically when toddlers are picky, they refuse to eat the food that you put in front of them, or if you're trying to feed them with a spoon, they'll turn away from the spoon. One of the first things to remember when you have a child who's not eating well is that as a parent, after a child begins to feed themselves, you're really only in control of two things. One is you're in control of what the child is offered with regards to food, and two, you're in control of when they're offered the food. You're really not in control of whether they put the food in their mouth or how much they put in their mouth. So you're really not in control of those two things. When parents try to control what the child puts in their mouth and how much of it, is when eating then becomes about power. It's no longer about nutrition. And so that's really what we want to try to avoid when you have a child who's a picky eater, whether that child is 15 months of age or whether that child is 8 years of age. We don't want mealtime to be a control issue, which is exactly what happens. And most of you who are struggling with your picky eater, it's more about power than it is about nutrition. So what do we recommend for the picky eater? One of the very first things that I recommend for parents is to try not to become very emotional when your child refuses to eat food, because then them not eating becomes attention-seeking behavior when we shower them with a lot of emotional attention, when we try to beg them to eat, or we try to barter with them or negotiate with them, trying to get them to eat a certain item of food, and then dangle a cookie in the background and say you can't have this cookie until you eat your vegetables. It's really the wrong attitude to have when it comes to your child's nutrition. We all have an inborn desire to survive, and we all have a certain appetite incentive, and we need to let that grow in our kids. So what we typically recommend is if you have a child who's really picky, we would recommend offering them 3 meals a day with a cup of milk. And if they refuse to eat the food, we need to try not to get too upset about it, and then don't offer them any more food till the next mealtime. One of the biggest problems, I think, especially with American children, is that we offer a lot of snacks, and the carbohydrate type snacks that are given between meals are a really there's a big negative incentive on the appetite. And so if your child refuses lunch, and then you're giving them goldfish or pretzels or vanilla wafers or something an hour or 2 hours later, then there's really not a lot of incentive to try new things, because your child knows exactly what's going to happen when they get their snack, or when even if they're allowed to go to a snack cabinet. That's something that we strongly would recommend, not allowing your child to have access to snacks that they can get at any time. So, and I also think that we are somewhat snacking our children into obesity with the current epidemic of obesity that we're having. I just really think that snacking has a lot to do with some of these picky eaters. So if your child is a great eater, eats 3 meals a day, and is very active and you want to offer a snack in between the meals, we have no problem with that. But if your child's really picky and they're not eating their meals, we would consider significantly cutting down the amount of food that you're giving them between meals, as well as sugar-sweetened beverages like juice, certainly soda, even a lot of milk in between meals is really it has a negative impact on appetite. As your child gets older, if they refuse their meal, we need to let them know that eating food is their responsibility for keeping their body healthy, and that if they don't eat, then they're not going to get any more food till the next meal time. And once your child sees that you mean that, and that you stand up to them, and that they realize that you're going to follow through with that, you'll see your child start to eat all kinds of things that perhaps you would not have before. Once again, the emotional component is such a huge part of the picky eater. So trying to be as emotionless as possible when your child is at the table, and trying not to micromanage and hover over them while they eat, and for them to see that it's not a huge deal to you when they don't eat, but that we're also not going to give them a lot of extra foods if they refuse. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. This is typically the advice that I give to parents during checkups. If any of you have seen me for checkups before, and you've heard this before. So anyway, I hope it was helpful for you, and we are excited about being able to communicate with you on Facebook, and hope that we can do more videos like this in the future if you think that is helpful. So with that, I will go. Take care.